Who did I meet? So I met Brian. We were playing together with some mutual friends of ours. Um, there's a bass player that I play with all the time in LA named Rob Douglas, and he'd played with Brian and some other stuff. and so we had our band going, and then Ross needed somebody to play on some of the last little bit of the record. There was like 1 or 2 tracking sessions left, right?
Yeah.
And so Rob and I went and played on that stuff, and some of those songs ended up on the record. And then he asked me to come and do all this touring when it was time to do this, and so here we are.
I can't remember. I probably met you and Brian, these two clowns, at the same time.
Like 05.
Yeah, something like that, 05. We were on a show together. I had a band called The World Record.
You still have a band called The World Record.
I have a band called The World Record. Look for it.
Yeah.
And these guys play in that band actually from time to time. And we were sharing a bill, and we both kind of admired each other's bands, and so we remained friends. And then at some point there was a show, and my normal guys were not available, and Ross and Brian subbed in on second guitar and drums, and it went really well, so we started to play together like that. And then when this came up, Ross asked me to play. I actually played drums on some of the songs
on the record.
On the record, yeah. And yeah, that was that.
And Andy's band, The World Record, really is awesome. I'm not just saying it because he's next to me, so you guys should check it out. TheWorldRecord.net. I have, by the way, written that guy, John Boslow, who owns TheWorldRecord.com. I've written him, it bounces back. I have his phone number. I haven't called You need to
him
call him.
I got to take care of that business.
I think
because it's just
fine.
you go to .com and it's just like some,
yeah.
It's nothing. There's nothing there. What's that about?
Actually, everyone here is on the record. Adam plays some keys. As I mentioned, Brian co-produced it and plays a lot of guitar and sings and plays piano and bass and drums, and Andy sings and plays drums, and Derek plays drums on the record. So everyone here plays on it. Yeah, actually, Andy's wife is a great singer-songwriter named Annie Hayden, who she put out a couple solo records on Merge, and also used to be in a band from New Jersey called Spent. And Annie sings on the record, and then Ivan Howard, who's in another Merge band called the Rosebuds, he sings on the record, and then Rob Douglas, who we discussed earlier, who plays bass. He plays bass on a couple tracks. So, but other than that, it was a kind of a tight-knit little group, and it was a lot of fun to make. No, I think those are all pretty good touchstones. I think especially the Tom Petty one, which I'm really glad that you said that, because I haven't heard that. We don't get that a lot. But that's really, if there was any guy that I've tried to emulate in my songwriting and what I want to do with my career and what I hope to do, it's him more than anybody else.
Yeah,
I would
and
say.
it's a really good one because this is a little bit more of a guitar, like a hard rock guitar record than the 2 Broken West records,
Right.
which were a little more. I mean, they had Petty influences also, but they were more chiming guitars and keyboards and little birdsy, little Southern California sound. And this is a little bit more of a raw.
Yeah. Although also, I mean, Tom Petty always gets lumped in with Springsteen and Mellencamp.
Right.
But perhaps to a fault, because he's a little more eccentric than that.
Yeah.
I mean, he has weirder songs.
Yeah.
And I think there's some weirder songs on this record that don't fit that sort of, straight ahead guitar rock. I mean, it gets a little.
It's weird in spots.
They're confused. They're frightening.
Yeah. Very frightening. But yeah, I like the Petty thing a lot. I'll take that any day of the week. So I think for people it's like the world that we're kind of in is this sort of niche thing where you ask someone, and you mentioned and I love Teenage Fan Club to death, but you ask anyone on the street and they don't know who they are. But if you say Petty, so it's like if some guy, and not to sound like a dick, but it's like if someone on the street was who I assume it just by judging a book by its cover, if I figured he probably didn't know what Teenage Fan Club was. If he asked what my band sounded like, I think I would say Petty. I think, and I mean, I don't know. That's maybe a little grandiose, but I'm flattered that you said that.
Dan Long was the other producer, and he's great. He was more of the second, kind of came in a lot in the second half of the record. I was a little bit more involved in the first half, some pre-production, a little bit of arranging, and some of the certainly playing on it also. And then once that part was done and it got into editing and mixing, and like tracking the vocals and a lot of that kind of stuff that happens at the end of the record making process. Dan Long was really in the driver's seat. Would you say?
Yeah. Brian was really involved with sort of helping me flesh out the songs and giving me advice and notes on demos that I would play him and sort of stuff like that, which was invaluable. So both of those guys had really sort of different functions in terms of getting the record made, but each was indispensable.